And are you refreshed? Good. Now what? All right, let's have some fun. This was the very thing Jerry was worried about.
Thank you. I just want to express my appreciation because I was in San Francisco last Saturday with my husband here, and it was so invigorating. And my meditation has been so wonderful. And then I had a mammogram on Monday, and, just my routine. And then they called me on Wednesday, and they said, come back. And I'm like, I have healthy breasts. I have healthy breasts. I have healthy breasts. And I went through a number of things, just stopped everything, put white clothes on, meditated, went through all these various stuff, and went, I have healthy breasts. And it's not like I haven't created health before, because that's been part of my whole life, myself and others. And went in on the next day, or I guess it was Tuesday and Wednesday, and they took the stuff, and they had all these like teas and coffees and food in this room, and I'm like, flowers? And I'm like, wow. And so I went back and I just focused on healthy breasts, healthy breasts, healthy breasts. And she came back, she's come, let's talk, and we went and talked, and you have healthy breasts, and you have a white piece of paper, and I'm like, great. And it's like, in this process, my inspiration that came is like this book to describe how important it is that when you think there's something that's wrong, or someone tells you something that's wrong, it's not. As long as you focus and as long as you create.
Well, the nice thing to know is that whatever can be noted, is continually changing. And what people usually don't realize is that they can walk right back out the same door that they walked in. But when people are really steeped in reality, so that reality means so much, it's harder for them to allow what can be easily changed. We think there's something more important to talk about in this experience, because we've been talking a lot recently, and you heard it if you were listening in San Francisco, about getting ready to be ready to be ready to be ready. Do you feel that you needed some validation about that? Were you looking for some evidence about the things that you vibrationally know? And the reason that we ask this question is because it's certainly all right if you are, because the validation of what you're offering vibrationally will come continually. We just want you to know that the validation or the manifestation or the proof of whatever your vibration is a constantly changing thing, provided you're tending to your vibration. Most people are sort of locked into these patterns of thought, and they don't change those patterns of thought very much, and so things don't change very much around them. Different places and different faces, but the same sort of things happening. So where are you at? What do you want to talk about relative to all of that?
I was asking for validation because it's like I realized before last Saturday that I have been allowing my body to create. Like, I injured my knee, and they said four doctors said my ACL was complete.
We're going to interrupt you here. It's natural that you would want validation. Begin again. You are on the leading edge of thought. You are on the leading edge of creation, and you've come into these physical bodies because things that manifest, that can be seen and heard and smelled and tasted and touched, is the leading edge of creation. You want the full experience of creation. It's nice to dream a dream. It's nicer still. It becomes more and more and more and more satisfying as you have the ability to experience it in fuller and fuller and fuller and fuller fashion. What most people don't understand is that they have been creating all along with their thoughts. They just don't know it, and they're not tuning into the experience until there is manifestation. And if you wait until there is manifestation before you start tuning in, then, as we were describing earlier, you have very little control about it. Does that make sense to you? But if you're starting at the beginning of thought and you are allowing the thoughts to increase, now that's where all of your control comes from. And so, of course, you were already in that position of that manifestation that you were looking for. But there was something within you that did want that validation. And the reason we wanted to talk with you in this forum about it is because that we love you so much. You know what's coming next. That need for validation messes up your mojo. It just does. Because when you're not ready to be ready, and so it's not there, then you start focusing on the lack of it and you become less ready. Does that make sense? So if you can not need the physical validation, but you can instead enjoy the satisfaction as it is progressing along, that satisfaction will become more and more and more and more. Esther said to us not long ago, Abraham, I get it. I think I understand this. And I like to visualize, and I like to imagine, and I like to be satisfied as I'm getting ready to be ready. But I got to tell you, Abraham, Esther said, I really like manifestations a lot. I really, really like manifestations. And we say, of course you do, because the manifestation is what you're going for. In other words, for a creation to evolve and mature, it's like you do want to give birth to the baby. You do. You don't just want to be pregnant. And you just don't want to enjoy morning sickness and awkwardness. You want the manifestation of it. Of course you do. But you don't want it before it's ready, do you? You want to be ready, to be ready, to be ready, to be ready, to be ready. And we're just saying that there is so much potential for satisfaction that you are missing because you are so eager for the manifestation that you don't enjoy what you are ready for. And if you would enjoy more what you're ready for when you're ready for it, it's like there's a skyscraper and the foundation isn't stable, and so you're shoring it up by putting more support in the upper floors. But if you don't secure the foundation, you don't have a stable skyscraper. And it's the same sort of thing as you build this basis as you move along. And wouldn't you say that as you were moving through this, that you had a strong sense of stability even as you were moving?
Yes.
Yeah. Something more?
I had declared that I was done with having to learn to heal by going through stuff with my body.
When did you declare that?
Before Saturday.
Why? Who are you proving it to, and what is it you're proving? Is what you just said is, I'm going to take the manifestation out of the equation? You don't want to take the manifestation out of the equation.
Maybe I wasn't clear.
Say it again. Your body is perhaps the most manifested part of you. It's a manifestation that is usually present in every moment. And we'd also like to say that every moment is a manifestation. So here we are, here we are, here we are, here we are. We've come forward to this. We've come forward to this, and this is the manifestation that we are observing. But if you can be a little less observant of what this moment is, if you can have made sure that you've started in a stable place and brought the fullness of you to your noticing of this moment, then the noticing of the manifestation of this moment is sure-footed and good feeling. There's something worth chewing on here. So let's find it and chew on it just a little bit. If you are only an observer of what is, then you're having a really bumpy ride because there's so much to observe. If you have some central conscious awareness of your well-being, then you can experience the contrast of step one without going into strong instability. That was a really powerful way of putting that. There are so many people that don't have this knowledge of their well-being, or their understanding that they can be or do or have anything that they desire, or that they are the creator of their own experience, who find themselves in the midst of a moment in time, observing what's going on and feeling almost panic about it because they don't really understand how they got there, and they don't know how to do something about getting somewhere else. And so in order to really consciously and deliberately experience the benefit of these creative steps of sifting and sorting through contrast, contrast should be delightful to you. Contrast should be a thing that delights you, not a thing that terrorizes you. Contrast should be a feeling of choosing. If you went to a buffet and they only had one thing there, you would feel deprived. Usually there's more things. No, this is it today. Want it? I guess. So contrast will only be pleasing to you. It will only feel like choices to you when you have come from this stable place of knowing that you really are the one who is choosing, you see. And so then it doesn't matter what somebody tells you about their misunderstanding. Clearly somebody misunderstood something, and they misunderstood it in a strong enough way that they gave it to you forcefully enough that you marched yourself down there and went through whatever they asked you to go through in order for them to prove to themselves that they were wrong.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And there's so much of that going around because there are so many people that would rather stand in a place of being right than standing in a place of feeling good. And almost everybody, especially relative to health issues, feels insecure about things because there's so much information about what's probably wrong with you. It's a really nice thing when you get into this place of really understanding that you have this awareness from that broader perspective, and that when you get in sync, that all things are unfolding. Something really important. This is the piece that we were looking for, that you're looking for, and that perhaps many others of you are looking for. And that is, if you're willing to accept that there is a continual ongoing journey, and that sometimes along the journey, sometimes what you're experiencing, even when in the moment of the manifestation, it doesn't feel like where you think you want to be, it is setting you up for something that you really do want. So sometimes there is contrast on your path that is causing you to ask stronger questions that are a bigger part of what you're really wanting. So it works like this. Your inner being is standing there with all of the cooperative components of what you've been asking for. But you're not ready for the unfolding of it in the way that you want to be. And so what's unfolding is more shallow than you really want it to be, or isn't including as much as you really want, and your inner being knows that. So sometimes you have an experience that clarifies and sharpens your intent. Anything that causes you to know what you want in a stronger fashion is always a good thing. But you don't know that until you get to the other side of it, unless you already feel the stability of what alignment feels like. There must be a better way to say that, because you weren't moved in the way we wanted you to be moved. Sometimes you, along your journey, are moving through some terrain that is not as pleasing to you as other terrain, but you have to move through some terrain to get to some other terrain. No, that wasn't good. Sometimes, in order to be ready, there's a question that must peak within you that hasn't peaked yet. And sometimes this experience causes a question to peak in a stronger way, which is going to goose up your satisfaction factor big time. Because until you've asked a big question, a big answer is not satisfying. And we've noticed that because we've been giving you big answers all day today, and you just... But once a big question is active within you, then when the answer comes, then you know you're the creator of your own reality, and you feel so blessed in the universe's ability to deliver to you the satisfaction of this moment and this one and this one and this one and this one and this one. So you reach a place, once you get the hang of this, that every moment is a satisfying moment because it's all part of the journey, you see. Really good. Enough?
Thank you.
Second.